Media at SAFM with Ashraf Gardner.
We're going to chat to Kayad Langa later on about how to be a successful blogger. Advice I think you should take pretty seriously. Jeanette Breitenbach is the ad expert. She's picking up some adverts that we need to talk about. What about the rise of the super striker? You know, that comic book and how they've worked it and marketed and built on that market now to brand themselves supremely. We'll talk about that with Richard Morgan Grenville later on. But for now, we have with us an award-winning cricket commentator, Natalie Germanos. Hi.
Hi there, Ashraf. How are you?
How does it feel to be called SAB Sports Media Radio Commentator of the Year?
Odd, in fact. Strangely enough, everyone would say, oh, it must feel great. It feels odd in a way. Because I think it was more a little bit overwhelming. I think the response was what was overwhelming. You know how they say when a tree falls in the forest, does it make a noise? It feels the same almost with the award. If nobody made a noise about it, would it feel that special?
You need them to fuss over it.
Yeah, strangely enough. And the fuss has been overwhelming and surprising, and I think that's what's made it feel a little bit odd in a way.
Now, I mean, I saw your tweet because obviously myself being a winner at previous awards and not attending the last 2 or 3 at all, but I certainly followed it on Thursday night and I saw your response and of course saw many of the other conversations taking place on Twitter, right? I mean, that tells you just the level of fuss that sports media community makes over these awards.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see. I think also from the perspective of cricket, it's raising that profile as well, especially on radio. It reaches an audience that TV doesn't reach, and it's great to see that that's going to give that a little bit of a push as well. And I think from that perspective, it's a good thing, and hopefully it'll put that more in the spotlight. And you know, you hear about a lot of people from soccer getting awards, and obviously that gets a lot of high profile, but it's good to see cricket getting that as well.
Right, now, and let's just confirm, this is for cricket commentary as opposed to cricket reports, because we hear you crossing to us very regularly and doing cricket reports. It's not for that.
Yeah, it was for commentary. I entered commentary. I was thinking about entering for a reporter, but I decided just to stick with entering for commentary. So, yes, there's actually a separate award.
You should have done both. Well. I mean, who knows? I'll tell you what, let's play some of the commentary, which obviously is on Radio 2000, right?
Yes, that's right.
Let's play some of it just to get a snap of Natalie not doing a match report, but certainly cricket commentary in action.
Crowd getting behind Pryor, trying to encourage their batsman to score more runs. He's on 73. He gets an edge. It's caught. It's slip. Graham Smith takes a good low catch to his left-hand side. Pryor, after playing a valiant innings, is gone for 73. 294 for 9. South Africa need 1 wicket. Bring Stephen Finn to the crease. Philander looking for the last wicket. Right arm over the wicket. Bowls to Finn, an edge, and it's caught. It's slipped by Callis. Fernand Philander has 5 wickets at Lords. He gets on the board and he wins it for South Africa. They win this game by 51 runs. Fernand Philander has picked up 5 wickets. 2 wickets in 2 balls for the Big Vern. England all out for 294.
Okay, so there you are. Well done.
Thanks very much. Yeah, of course, that was South Africa's winning effort at Lords to take the series and go number 1 in the Test rankings.
Yeah. Can you quite believe where you are right now?
If I look back on this, I've been involved in the business now for 7 years. God, when I look back at it, it seems almost impossible that it's been that long. Not quite, no, because I actually started on my birthday of all days in the year. That was my first commentary stint, and that was on a ladies' game as well. And I think I was a bit concerned that I would be sort of pigeonholed into doing ladies cricket, that's not a bad thing. It's just that they don't get much coverage, obviously. But to get to the stage where I am now, it's a lot further than I think I ever imagined.
Now, I mean, yes, you just made the point. I mean, certainly as someone who follows cricket passionately, the one thing I've never tried, and I don't want to do it, I don't want to do commentary. I just think it's so technical. I enjoy the game, but I think it's technical. You've obviously played the game, right? But I mean, how did you approach the technicalities of exposing yourself, if I can call it that, on a ball-by-ball basis, which is what allows you, because soccer and rugby is 80 or 90 minutes, it's just jam in and out. But cricket doesn't. There's lots more reflection, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two roles that you have with cricket commentary in particular. You do have it sometimes with rugby and soccer, but not always. You have your lead commentator as such and your expert. And the expert analysis is usually a former test player, the likes of Peter Kirsten. He works with us, Neil Johnson. And they are there to add some colour, add a little bit of perspective, analyse what is happening, basically the reaction. But as you said, it's very technical to be a lead because you've got to do a lot of things. One, you've obviously got to describe the action. And when it comes to cricket, you don't know what's going to happen when the bowler lets go of the ball. So you have to be literally on the ball and make sure that you're up with it all the time. And you have to give score constantly because you're on radio, obviously. You have to make sure you keep that updated. You have to be able to create a picture of the field, where the ball goes, what type of shot you play.
Every ball, not just one.
Every single ball, absolutely. And your sessions are usually around 20 minutes long, but at the same time, it's incredibly technical. But I was very lucky to get a mentor. His name's Glenn Mitchell. He's a veteran sports commentator from Australia. He's worked in the business for 21 years, and he helped me out and taught me the rules, because there are rules to follow. And he taught me
not the rules of cricket, but the rules of commentating.
Yes.
So, and amongst the rules, share them with us.
Things like keeping up with the action, keeping it present. Like, for example, just a basic example, saying Callis has driven the ball is in past tense. You want to keep your listener up with the action, you say Callis drives.
Drives, okay.
It's a completely different thing, and they feel like they're up with the action. Also, building it to a crescendo, like saying that Steyn is running in from the pavilion end, crowd behind him, and maybe Strauss is on strike, and then he drives and he gets it to an edge and goes through the slips. Building up that action to a crescendo and getting the listener almost to take a breath, and then when the action actually happens to let go and be with it. Basic things like that. He actually drew up a whole document.
And I'm just thinking, I mean, and certainly many sports listening on radio, the game just sounds so much better.
I think in a lot of ways it does. You have a lot more time to interact with each other, the two commentators. You have a little bit more fun as well. There's also rules, obviously, when it comes to TV commentary. You can't talk over a delivery, things like that. And you've got to talk with the pictures. Whereas radio, you don't have to talk with the pictures. You can talk about whatever you like.
Now, you've done both, right?
Yes, I have done a little bit of TV commentary.
Which one do you enjoy more?
Radio by a long way. It's a lot more fun. You can use your imagination. You can describe the action, and you can play with the English language a little bit more than you can.
But you wouldn't say no to more TV either?
I probably wouldn't. Radio would always take preference, though.
How much have you improved? I mean, you made the point about having this mentor. So let's say from the first time you started with the women's games to now, and how much do you think that you can say, holy, forget about others telling me, I know I've improved, and that's where I've improved?
Well, I started off in the experts chair. That's where I started off, and I was there for a couple of years, and then moved on to the leads chair, or the ball by ball commentator, as it is called. And I feel that I've improved in the point where now I can feel comfortable in being able to use other things. So in other words, other cues, whether it be somebody warming up maybe at mid-off, or a slip in place, or the captain. So instead of just focusing on one thing, I'll be able to focus on a lot more things and not have a tunnel vision, and actually be able to use other things to make it a little more colourful and a bit more interesting for the listener. And I think I've also developed my own style, which I'm quite happy about.
Which I think that's important, isn't it? Because if everybody
absolutely
sounds the same, like, so where's your differentiation? Why would we say, holy, I like Natalie?
Well, I think I do bring in that feminine factor, obviously, and it's different from how the men see the game. The women see the game a little bit differently. And I think men in general can be not necessarily mechanical to say that they're boring, but they look at more from the technical side of things, whereas a woman might look at it more from the mental aspect of things and bring that into it, whether it be emotions or how they approach the game, their body language, that kind of thing, whereas the men not necessarily might see it that way. It's just a different
perspective.
perspective.
Sort of cricketers or Cricket South Africa would say, look at it from a fashion point of view as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. Sort of marketing the game in terms of whether they're all white or all different colours as well. Just your thoughts then in terms of, I mean, you've won this best commentator. That's a category in radio overall. But surely, and I put the same question to Velile Mbuli when I spoke to him earlier on, how are you going to leverage this? And surely you should.
Well, I would hope that it's also going to give me something to open up something else in the career, whether it be in print, or maybe, as you mentioned, doing a little bit more TV. I think that's where I would like to go. I'd like to branch out a little bit. I love doing commentary, and that will always be my first passion, but I'd like to branch out maybe to doing some print, whether it be writing a column, writing stories, or my own perspective, whatever it may be. I'd like to see if I could just branch out from that perspective.
Besides the mentor, I mean, who do you admire in this industry who's probably done the type of things that you want to do?
Jonathan Agnew from TMS, Test Match Special. Definitely, absolutely admire him. Wonderful commentator. He's one of the few lead commentators on radio that played Test Match cricket as well. Obviously, I'll never get to that stage, but he's travelled all around the world, seen as a wonderful commentator. Great experience. There's also a young lady named Alison Mitchell who's working for the BBC, and she's doing other sports as well. She does a little bit of Olympic coverage, hockey coverage, and she also focuses a lot on cricket. So I admire her also because she's also leading the way for women in the sport.
Now, commentating, does it sometimes take the fun out of you as a spectator? Because, I mean, you obviously love the game.
It does in a way. I was actually speaking to a friend of mine where I was sitting watching one of the domestic games, and you can't help but analyse the game from a totally different perspective. You're not sitting there as a fan watching the game. You're now analysing it to say, okay, this is the tactics, this is what they're planning to do.
And they're telling you, why don't you shut up?
Exactly. And you're forgetting about all the
game.
emotion and the passion behind it and what a sports fan might be thinking and the way they might be reacting to a bad call by the umpire. Whereas from a commentator's perspective, you don't see it that way. You try and be as unbiased as you can as a commentator, and watching as a fan, it's almost you feel ill at ease.
And just lastly, preparation, because one of my downsides of even contemplating commentary, like, I don't have the time to sit the whole day. What's the preparation for that? If we know cricketers prepare for 5 days of Test cricket, what about people like you?
It takes a lot of research. I think a lot of people have come to me and said, oh, I can do this job. I want to be a commentator, because they think all you do is sit behind a mic and talk about a game that you love. But you actually do a lot of research, whether it be what's happened at the ground in history, what the players have done at the ground, what their preparation itself has been. If this one's injured, what does that mean for somebody else? And also what sort of form they're in the last year or so. Maybe they've got a new captain. What has he done in the past? So it's a lot of research that goes into it, and it's a lot of hours of research as well, because you can only do so much at a time. You can only look at one page on the computer, for example, at a time. So it takes a lot of research, hours and hours.
But you still want to do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Award winner. Just quick one, cricket update today. What's happened?
Well, it's looking good from South Africa's perspective. Good day for them. 111 for 3 Australia were at the end of the day, still trailing by 339. But their problem is Michael Clark at the crease and Ed Cowan. They've put on a good partnership with Australia going at around 4.5 to the over. So their run rate's good, but they've lost 3 wickets though. So it should be a very good day.
Tomorrow morning around 1:30 a.m. or something is an important first hour to check.
Another early start.
And earlier that, of course, South Africa getting centuries from colours, 149 odd.
He made 147, yes. His 44th century of his career. And then we also saw 100 from Hashim Amla, 104, which incidentally, he was given out LBW, but if he went for the review, it would have been overturned.
Wow. Well, didn't do that. Okay. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time and great being called an award winner. Absolutely.
Thank you, Ashraf.
Natalie Germanos. So there you are. Commentator of the Year in the radio category at the SAB Sports Media Awards. We have lots more to talk about. Somebody who certainly does things pretty well is Kayad Langa. If you're considering blogging, you want to list. If you're considering blogging, you want to list.